start Woodland Hills Metro District regular meeting Thursday, January 26th. It is 5:36. Roll call.
John Martin present.
Stacy Popovich present.
Neil Erickson present.
Sherry Ringen present. And Blair is here.
Blair Daycona present.
Okay, director's disclosures. Do you have all of them?
I do have all of them.
They've all been sent.
They've all been sent over. I don't know, Blair, if you want to talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, sure. Those get filed 72 hours before board meeting. If you were to have a conflict, the first step is to just recuse and not vote on it. But the purpose of the conflicts is if a quorum of the board had the same conflict and therefore you couldn't act. If you had all disclosed that same conflict in your disclosures, one of you could vote to make a quorum despite having that conflict, but you have to disclose it to do that. So we just think it's a good practice to have for boards to disclose that. I know there weren't really any conflicts in anybody's disclosures, but we'll file them and then we'll send out reminders, and then that way if something does come up on the agenda or something changes in your work situation that would create a conflict, you can just update that and then it's all in file.
So you'll need to have that updated each meeting?
It'll go out each meeting, and if it changes, you just let us know and we'll update it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There are no conflicts for this meeting.
Okay.
I really thought he would have been.
A conflict?
Sorry.
I mean, he is a conflict.
I mean, we were all thinking that.
President's welcome and remarks, rules of conduct. Welcome. Appreciate you guys coming in. Have grace, because I don't do this very often because Troy's always here. And if someone would like to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance. Back to the court.
Oh, say.
Oh, wait.
All right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Neil.
Get this show rolling.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Number 5, approval or disapproval of the agenda.
I saw the agenda. Very impressive.
Good work, Secretary. Huh? What did we miss?
Approval of the agenda.
Approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Motion by Stacy, second by Neil. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 6, approval, disapproval of November and December board minutes.
I went through them, I didn't see anything.
I think the way our minutes are rewritten is fabulous.
The new format's nice.
I do like the new format. So I will make a motion to approve November and December board meeting minutes as
Second.
presented.
Motion by Stacy, second by John. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Number 7, attorney's report.
I don't have a formal report, but I can give you a little bit of an update on the transition and what we've been doing. So we met with Carter and JD, and Troy was there as well. And so since then, we've been working on some transition stuff, just getting files so we can get familiar with the district, making sure everything's kind of up to date. In that meeting was myself, obviously, but then also Heather Hartung from my office. And Heather's been working quite a bit with Carter recently on that stuff. I think maybe it was mentioned at a previous meeting, a review we've done on the rules and regs and the bylaws. So we'll hopefully have a red line version of that for you at the next board meeting, so you can look through it and ask questions, decide if you want to make any of those changes. What else? We're looking at the inclusion agreement and the petition that we received. So I think we need to set a board meeting.
So that's set as item 17.
Okay, so that'll be covered there.
Yeah.
And then you've got an upcoming budget amendment I think you're going to be doing, so we've been talking to Carter about that. Anything else I'm forgetting, Carter, that we've been working on?
Today, Heather sent out an email about doing the Metro District 101 training.
Right.
So that's something we need to discuss. you know, we thought in that meeting it would be something good for the directors to do, but I think Heather also said it could be for the board of directors as well. So essentially, it's something that you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, put on as like a training seminar with new clients, just to kind of get everybody on the same page when it comes to special districts. So I at least thought it would be a good idea for our staff to do it, the district staff, but you know, again, it's up to the board if you guys want to be able to participate in that. And if you do, we can set up a time via Zoom that's convenient for those that want to do it. And I don't know about if we want to do one for the board and one for us as directors, or do you want to do it all as one training? What makes the most sense, Blair?
I think it's really up to you all what's most beneficial. I mean, we could certainly do it together. I talked to Heather a little bit about it today, and she was gonna work on it with John as a junior associate in our office, so we can try and shift easier work or down the chain, you know, save costs. So John was gonna help Heather on putting that together. And we were thinking it's probably gonna be 30% specific to your district, and then just a lot of it on kind of governance of districts and Title 32 and how they operate, but we can tailor that to whatever your needs are. And if you wanted to do something different for those guys versus you, it's totally your call.
Does that qualify as a meeting?
If the board's there and we're talking business, yeah.
It would be a working session.
Yeah, we can.
So there wouldn't be anything formal that you would vote on, but yes, it would count as a meeting of the board.
So we would notice it as a work session. You don't have to keep minutes for a work session. You can just go through the presentation.
So if you guys think about it, and then if you can just email me and let me know if that's something that you would want to do. And then I can work on trying to schedule it between the directors and the board. Okay? I think.
And I think clarification probably needs to be made on replacement changes for council.
Yes, so that is actually item number 11.
Okay, perfect.
I think that sums it up, right? But
That covers pretty much everything.
because I know we have a couple other things we have to talk about with our agenda.
Yeah, and as I mentioned after this meeting, we'll reach out to Ted's office and work with him on transition of files. We'll enter our appearance, so things like inclusion motion and order can be filed, and he'll withdraw his appearance so he stops getting notifications, and we'll start getting them.
Thank you. Number 8, approval, disapproval of financials.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. So this is the last 2 months of 2022, so this is going to take a little bit of time to go through, so just kind of bear with me. Starting out with November financials for Parks and Rec. Total income in that month was $214,621 on a budget of $227,716. So for the month of November, 94% to budget. Overall, year to date, 97.98%, so very close. On the total expenses side, $127,734 on a budget of $216,169. So only 59% to budget there, 84.5% to budget year to date. Total net ordinary income came in at $86,887. That's really with a strong performance on keeping the expenses down because we did come in short on the revenue side. On a budget of $11,407, 752% to goal for the month, but 348% to goal year to date. Any questions about November Parks and Rec financials?
No, sir.
What did you guys cut out of the expense side this month versus the other 10 months? Because you only spent 59% of your budget.
Yeah, I think that was also a very big transitionary period. I mean, you say that, but it's true. It was a transitionary period where you had the old Parks and Rec director that was leaving. There was no technically director. There was an acting director being Stephanie and then myself over there, but we really didn't have a lot of costs that were coming through in that kind of month of November. If you think about it, and maybe Marcus, you might know about this just from your experience in Parks and Rec, but November is not a big program month, right? You can't do anything outside, so everything's got to be inside. So it's really going to be rentals and things like that. And it just wasn't there as strong of an outgoing expense side as the previous months. Do you have anything you would say, just historically, what you know in the month of November?
I think that, yeah, that's pretty accurate, and then without that, I mean, there's things that we are catching up on now, as supplies and things like that. So maybe some of this expense you saw not in November, you're starting to see now, because we are playing a little catch up.
Okay.
Any other questions for November in Parks and Rec? No? Okay, moving on to water. Month of November, total income came in at $293,877 on a budget of $351,636, so 83% of budget. However, year to date, 117%. On the total expenses came in at $191,289 on a budget of $227,949. 83% of budget, 85% of budget year to date. Net ordinary income was $102,588 on a budget of $123,686. 82% to budget, however, year to date, 176%. So yes, expenses came in much lower, but revenue in the month of November, especially on, we've talked about this throughout the year, right? I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I will for the public, is that revenue for water consumption in the winter months is obviously going to be a lot less. You're not irrigating, really not using as much water as you normally would during, you know, the kind of watering season. So saw a huge decrease in those water use fees. Now going into 2023 and beyond, you will see the historical, try to level that out to say, okay, hey, we know these months we're not going to see as much revenue, so we're going to plan for less revenue and plan for higher revenue during the watering season. So I'm still working to make sure that that gets instituted correctly. So it will take a little bit of time to kind of normalize that data set. So I'm not expecting 2023 to be perfect by any means, but it will definitely be a much more accurate depiction of where we're at on a month-to-month basis.
And for clarification purposes, it's because you're gonna be running the budgets based on calendar months?
Right, and based on what we actually intend to see revenue in that month versus just taking, hey, revenue is $3 million divided by 12. Oh, it's this amount set static. It's not static.
Yeah. Percentage of use based on.
Right.
Yeah, perfect.
Is Park and Rec gonna follow suit as well? Or is it gonna
That's,
stay on the 12
again,
months?
so that's part, they will have some of that as well. And so that's really gonna come into play, not on the monthly fees, because that's static, right? That's gonna come in more on the recreational program revenues, which, again, being Marcus's first year with us, it's gonna be difficult to come up with that now. So that's why I say 2023 is kind of the test of, is this historical model correct? And what changes do we need to make year over year to get it more in line, you know? So we will do our best.
Perfect.
Well, I know that it fluctuates with water
Yes.
because of irrigation.
Right.
But I didn't know if Park and Rec was gonna stay on a 12-month cycle of the
They
same,
will-
because the fees are static.
The monthly fees will be static, but again, like I said, all your recreational program revenues are not static. So what we expect to bring in revenue is all gonna be based off of the peak months that Parks and Rec will see, you know, those recreational programs being utilized.
Okay.
Any questions about water? All right, moving on to wastewater. So wastewater for the month of November, total revenue came in at $272,338 on a budget of $342,267, 79% to budget for the month. However, 102% to budget year to date. Total expense came in at $215,527 on a budget of $247,087, so 87% to budget, 97% to budget year to date. Net ordinary income was $56,811 on a budget of $95,180, 59% to budget. However, year to date, 114% to budget. Biggest thing that we saw here from a revenue perspective was when the budget was originally done, we expected to see $62,500 in tap fees. We only saw a little under half that, so only $30,000 worth of tap fees in the month. So again, that's something that there's not a lot of great historical data, because obviously we can't foresee when a builder is gonna come to us and say, hey, we're ready to build. So that one's gonna take a little bit more time for me to understand, especially as the district continues to grow, what that rate is of increase, and is it certain months of the year? Is it just static across all 12 months? You also have to throw in, we have the adjacent districts that we service for sewer, right? So Falcon Highlands, Paintbrush Hills, though that information getting from those districts is not always easy either. So having a good pulse on that overall absorption rate is becoming very difficult to determine. Any questions about wastewater? Okay, move on. So total district for the month of November, we had total income of $785,744 on a budget of $921,621. 85% to budget for the month, however, 107% to budget year to date. Total expense was $534,917 on a budget of $691,206, 77% to budget, 82% year to date. Net ordinary income came in at $250,826 on a budget of $230,414, so 108% to budget for the month, 181% to budget for year to date. So overall, while there was definitely some revenue loss, each of the enterprises did a really good job of managing the expense side for the month of November. So you can see that in the net income line being above the anticipated budget. Any questions for myself or the directors about November? Good, all right. Moving on to December, so Parks and Rec, total income came in at $229,101 on a budget of $227,716, 100% to budget, 98% to budget for the year. Total expenses for December came in at $189,402 on a budget of $216,169, 87% to budget, 84% to budget for the year of 2022. Net income for the month of December was $39,698 on a budget of $11,547, 343% to budget for the month, 349% to budget for the year. So did a nice job keeping expenses down and hitting some pretty high revenue targets in some of the areas that were in the control of that enterprise.
So this enterprise was $138,568 year-to-date under budget.
So the actuals, what we expected from a net income perspective was $138,000. we came in at 308 or 483,000. So almost was that $250,000 over goal. So it's really good.
A lot of this is just getting back into the process we started 3 years ago, just right-sizing all the figures,
Yeah.
trying to get closer.
Right. And all of, just for, again, more so for the public, but all net income proceeds stay with each enterprise and go into a capital expenditures fund. So then it's reinvested into the district. So none of this money is, kept by the district for any other purpose other than to reinvest into the district. And that's what you as the board of directors get to see capital expenditure plans from the directors year over year, say, here's what I would like to use that money for, and we get the blessing, or we say, no, go back to the drawing board, bring in something else. So just want to make sure that the public understands that these profits, so to speak, go right back into making the district even better.
Putt-putt golf is still no.
I'm thinking pool boys.
All right. Okay, so water for the month of December, total income was $540,682 on a budget of $351,636. 153% to budget for the month, 120% to budget for year to date. Biggest line that you're going to see there that drove it was the water acquisition fees. So worked very hard to get paid by Challenger for the additional WAF fees that they owed us from last year. So was able to finally get that payment in and get it deposited. So that's why you're seeing that line for water acquisition fees much higher than the budget. Going into total expenses.
Carter,
Yes.
can we back up one
Sure.
second? A plan going forward with that, is that something that we can discuss
We can.
now, or should it be discussed in executive?
Well, it'd only be discussed in executive if it's open for negotiations. I don't know if there's any negotiations that are happening when it comes to that. It's more about,
Okay.
this is what's going on and this is how we're working it out.
So I apologize for interrupting here, but part of the problem we're having is they owe WAF fees every time they apply for a new tap, get the tap. They're supposed to pay us for the tap and pay us for the WAF fee. They were paying for the tap, but not paying WAF fees.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, 20 houses in before 22 houses in before they finally paid us?
22 houses in, and we already gave them heads up and full warning.
Yeah.
So my question is, we really don't have anything set in place to say, look, you pay us or we stop you. I mean, we do,
Yeah.
but how far do we let that go?
Right.
Do we let it go, if you don't pay us for this house, you're not gonna get the tap for the next one? Do we do it after 10 taps? What should be the line
And I
that
know
we draw?
would be probably a great question for Blair, but he probably hasn't a chance to read that IGA. So I know Wayne Foreman, the water attorney for the district, was actually the one that drafted that. And so we worked, JD and I, with him to talk about, hey, what should we do? There are obviously a lot of mechanisms, litigation-wise, in the agreement that allows us to do exactly what John is saying, is, put a stop to development 100% because we don't have funds, and we can go as far as putting liens on the property. We can even go as far as shutting water off and sewer services completely to those addresses that haven't paid. So what happened was, we got to that point where JD and I had to have that conversation with Wayne and say, hey, they're not responding to us. We've sent them letters, we've sent them emails, we've talked to them over the phone. What should we do? And he said, stop everything. So JD and I got with Cody, the lead inspector for the district, and JD instructed him to go let the construction workers over there at Vincross say, hey, we're done. We're not doing any more installations, not doing any inspections. And lo and behold, within what, 5 hours,
Or less.
4 hours, we got a check for $194,000. So it took us having to push that kind of nuclear option on them to get paid when it really shouldn't be that.
Yeah, we don't wanna push back on a builder for doing what they need to do, but likewise, they're taking advantage of holding onto the cash. You know, as far as the back end piece, I don't know if any in the special districts, if you can actually charge penalties on that too. And especially if we have to motivate.
Yeah, well,
litigation
Carter was
issues.
talking about you can lien them, and then there are penalties that you can put on
Yeah.
place on top of that.
Hopefully they don't get to that point, but maybe they'll understand from now on that, you know, I think we give them 30 days.
My biggest problem with that is, with this whole thing is, how many hours did you spend on the phone, on email, trying to contact these people, letting them know that, hey, you owe us this money, we need to get paid.
Right.
Our district is paying you to get the money that they already owe us.
Right.
We should, I think we should tighten that up to where,
But we've got a good relationship with them, don't we?
So, yes and no, all right? So operationally, and JD, you can correct me if I'm wrong, operationally, we have a very good working relationship with the crews that are on the ground. They're actually doing the work. But when it comes to administratively, there has been a complete turnover of their org structure at Challenger, and so that was part of the problem, is that we couldn't get a hold of the right person. And even internally, they didn't know who the right person was. So I kept having to ask different people, well, are you the right person? Are you the right person? Are you the right person? And then, you know, finally just got to a point where I got up to the VP of accounting. She refused to return any of my phone calls or my emails. So then that's when I called Wayne and we had that discussion, and then he told us, nope, stop everything. So,
Yeah, they'll figure it out pretty quickly if they can't construct and they've got guys on the ground that are
Right.
getting paid to stand around.
4 hours worth.
Yeah.
right.
Well, they got a couple of homes that they had to close on that day, and it's like, no meter, no inspection, no money,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah, they figured it out pretty quick.
Mhm.
You know, so moving forward, they know that whenever they submit a TAP check to us, it has to include the WAF fee.
but have we
So
seen that yet?
They haven't done anything in the month of January.
Is there a way that we can go in and, during the process of getting updated full contact from the builders as far as who's their list, their hierarchy, point of contacts?
So that's what we tried to do,
Because they
but
usually have,
I can get the contact, but if they refuse to contact me back, there's not much else that
well,
I
if they
can
don't
do.
contact you back, then you give them 24 hours, 48 hours or whatever, and just say, until I hear from you, I'm gonna need to stop work.
Right. And maybe this is, again, something that Larry can look at once you have a moment to review that IGA with Bentgrass.
Yeah.
And look at that particular sections about what we can and cannot do based off the language in the document. And then what you know to be true for Colorado revised
I
statutes.
mean, we want them to build out, but likewise,
They need to pay.
you know, well, you know, they need to do their portion of their bargain and what we've done forward, so.
Right.
Without
Good job on
us
getting it done.
wasting
Yeah, we
tons
don't
of
wanna waste any
man
time.
hours.
Yeah, because Cody sent them, what was it, March?
Oh, it was August last year.
August. He sent them a notification in that long ago. So it took them 5 months
Right.
to get their ducks in a row, which is unacceptable.
Yeah, I'd say 30 days, you know, if the organizational issues is not our problem,
Right.
Close out every month.
Yeah.
you know.
So, more to come. I'll get with you, Larry.
Okay, sorry for
No,
interrupting.
I think that was a
so
really good conversation. I
Mhm.
think it's good for the rest of the board, but also the public to hear what's going on. I already went over total expenses, I believe. Net income, for December was $274,203 on a budget of $123,686, 221% of budget overall for the year, 180% to net income goals. Any questions about water?
That's me.
Mhm.
That was me.
All right. Wastewater in the month of December, total income was $306,715 on a budget of $342,267, 89% to budget, 101% for the year. Total expense for December was $357,214 on a budget of $247,087. 144% to budget there, 101% overall year to date. Net income for the month of December was actually in the red, $50,498 on a budget of $95,180. So, but year to date, 100% to net income goals. Wally, do you want to talk a little bit about those couple major expenses that happened in December that obviously were unplanned?
So we had the main lift station, years ago when we 13, when they put that online, the 200 horse motors and on the VFD, you always go bigger in the VFD, they only put a 200 horse in. And as many times that thing starts and stops, one of the VFDs completely failed. So we went ahead and ordered a new one, and the other one actually had more time on it than the other one. So I made a decision at that point to swap them both out. Because Allen Bradleys that were in there, it was gonna be almost 9 months lead time. So we went with a different manufacturer. So we kind of pushed up our schedule on the skid upgrade on that to go and coincide with it, to try and communicate with the new ones. And at the same time, something we just discovered, we had 2 motors go out kind of in the same time period, and we think we had a problem with the check valve, so the one's actually spinning backwards, and when it calls to start, it violently spins back the other way. So we're gonna get that resolved here next couple of weeks. But the two VFDs and putting a new PLC and getting the communications going added an unexpected 70 grand. But everything's back up to power in that thing, and we should be good to go for a long time.
You purchased new? Okay.
You never buy used VFDs.
They run warranties on those?
Yep.
Good. Thanks, Wally. So overall for the district in the month of December, let me get there. Total income was $1,081,881 on a budget of $921,621. So 117% of budget. Year for the year is 108%. Total expenses for the month of December came in at $816,279 on a budget of $691,206. It's 118% to budget, 85% to budget for the year. Net ordinary income for the month of December was $265,602 on a budget of $230,414. So the additional revenue was able to offset the additional expense. So 115% for the month, and then overall for the year, 175%. So year in kind of recap, very strong performance on the revenue side. We saw a lot more growth than what was expected, which led to more tap fees, more system development charges. So that's definitely good to see. Helps to go back to those capital expenses that we talked about earlier, but also trying to keep the expenses down as much as possible. Unfortunately, throughout the year, there were some unplanned expenses like Wally was talking about, but we had it throughout the district. There is, obviously a lot of money that goes into running a district. So when you have infrastructure that's all over the place and different ages, there's money that has to be shelled out in order to keep everything flowing correctly, both water, wastewater, and even Parks and Rec. So overall, I believe financially we're in a very, very stable position, not just this year, but previous years and moving forward. Balance sheet looks really good going into 2023 and beyond. So feel very confident in the financial strength of the district, which will go to help us in future years when we look to potentially get more public financing for any future large projects that we might have coming on. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Do we have a maintenance schedule for all 3 enterprises? So that way when something reaches a certain age, it just gets swapped out as it's a guaranteed CAPEX project. Say next year, this motor reaches
Yeah.
10 years, it gets swapped.
What's on a depreciation schedule you should be running, but I don't know, I think to your point is that we do that with vehicles, we do that with computers, phones, things like
So
that. but
I'll say
keys.
my piece just from the finance side, and I'll let these guys talk about it in their own enterprise, but the issue that I see on the depreciation schedule, because I manage that, is that we have a lot of aging assets that are beyond the lifespan. And so a key example of that we brought up earlier this year is our fleet. It's never been managed appropriately, and so we have vehicles that have 250,000 miles on it and thousands of hours, and it's, you know, really useless for the district and causes a lot of downtime for the field operators. So that's just a small example, and you know, I think that the directors can go into a little bit more detail about their own enterprises, but I can say that during the budget workshops for 2023, we did start discussing, hey, what are those items that we need to start putting on as a guaranteed CapEx improvement, or do we need to reallocate some funds into the budget on an annual basis as well from R&M to make sure that we're covering those costs? So short answer is we are looking into it. The long answer is unfortunately there's things that have, I don't want to use this term, but I have no other choice, mismanaged. And the directors are doing everything they can to right that ship so that the future of the district is not in jeopardy. So I'll turn it over to either of you guys or all 3 of you if you have anything
So
else.
kind of to Carter's point, so I could have just got the one VFD and tried to milk time out on the other one, but again, like right now we're down to 1 pump, had that been on the other VFD and that one failed, we'd been dead in the water, then we'd been paying a lot of money Cherokee to treat our wastewater, our plant would die, so the overall scheme, you almost had to pull the trigger and do them both at the same time,
That's the right choice.
so it's just stuff like that that comes up, but again, I guess being in the people that were in the past positions, I don't think anything was in place for that stuff, so once it rears its ugly head,
I think
I've seen it once, now you know how to go forward.
the bigger thing is actually looking at a standard operation, you know, an SOP, right? For those particular items in place, so, and then looking at it, and that, we won't call it a depreciation schedule, maybe it's just an RMA schedule, right? Repair and maintenance.
Yeah.
So
So
it's more towards pushing
in
towards.
other terminology, it's like a SIP plan.
Right,
So the district engineer, so JDS Hydro does have a SIP plan based on what they know. But those are very large, correct me if I'm wrong, like kind of 30,000 foot view. So these are like big ticket items that they're aware of from an engineering perspective, but I think that's half the battle, right? The other half is these smaller things that add up to being very large expenses.
well,
That's where I think JD and Wally and now Marcus are really diving in to understand what are those little things that have really been overlooked or neglected over the years that we need to start focusing on and having a plan moving forward. I feel confident that we have these discussions and those plans are in place. We need to formalize them better, but a lot of it is just knowing what's wrong. And there's a lot that's going on out there. And again, I don't want to take away from anything that these guys might want to add.
I think it's just a matter of breaking it down as far as projects go, you know, for each section. Depending on your guys' approach, it's just my experience is, you know, you take each facility for Park and Rec, break it down to standard project maintenance, and then see what's actually something that gets expensed over time, right? That you know that's gonna wear out and break. And then we compensate for it for the homeowners in the district.
Right.
So that it's not something that gets blindsided down the future where, you know, we're shelling $50,000 out. I mean, we've done a lot of that in the last 3 years of really going in and basing out the infrastructure and getting things cleaned up.
So when the full rate study analysis from Raptellus is delivered to the board later this year, it will have a full SIP plan in it. So the board will see how are the rates where we're charging will include those SIP projects over the years.
Right.
Except for those large, capital expenses that are kind of, they're planned, but they're much higher than what you can kind of budget for on an annual basis. But still, those will be on that plan as well.
Keep in mind that those need to be available by the homeowners.
Yep.
And somewhat understandable, you
Right.
know? So we wanna keep the terms simple.
Right.
And straightforward so that the regular homeowner, if they wanna dive into it, they know exactly where their fees are going to. Which is why it's an advantage that five of us are, homeowners in the district, so. We don't like the fees any more than they do, so.
Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add on the long-term projects?
No, I think to your point, GDS Hydro looks at the big stuff, like potential future expansion, and we get bigger, looking at like water tanks, maybe a lift station, whatever. The rest of it's kind of on us to look at the
Yeah, but you
pieces
can,
under that building. to
you
keep-
can use it as a template though, and actually just start drilling down into the smaller items and, small stuff, it's not a big deal, but if you're looking at a VFD, on bigger scope, the larger SIP plan for JDS Hydro is gonna be, $200,000, $500,000 item. You're looking at stuff like VFDs that are, getting worn out, and that they're getting to end of life, right? So, just putting an EOL program in place with a SIP study, so that'd be fine. Okay.
Do we have any kind of spare stock? Like, I'm sure you have check valves that are identical throughout. You don't, or maybe you don't have check valves that are
Yeah, just
identical.
go back to previous employees.
Yeah, that you
Not
said,
under.
including back stock items for maintenance repair.
Well, I
We
have
talked
been
about
stocking
that.
up on some mixers,
Yeah.
as they come in, but
Yeah, it's just like that water exposure we had, up by my house, we didn't have any 18-inch pipe in line, right? Nobody had it in stock, so.
Well, we got some.
I know you did. I'm thoroughly impressed with the fact that you got that A shut off quickly as you did. Because I had some water pouring down on my front yard. I was like, man, at least I could do is hit my lawn. No, it's in the ditch.
So the sad thing was when that project, so we're gonna go and explore some of these reasons why certain things were put in place from previous people that occupied those positions. Was that if there was something to save money on, and there was something that the engineer already had put in the plan that you should have on hand and all that,
Right.
and if it wasn't necessary to say it's a brand new line, what's gonna go wrong with a brand new line, that stuff went back.
Yep.
That should never be the mentality. There should be always what is the recommendation,
Right.
and then protecting that asset or those items in your inventory. And, or having appropriate storage, which will, going forward, that as long as these individuals are now in their positions, they can correct that and making sure that those things are managed properly.
Yeah, we'll move for what was done, because that was settled 3 years ago. Right, so we've had a lot of replacement changes and things like that, which is why we jump on that.
the danger on that side of things is like, we saw, so, a couple of mixers I got, there were supposed to be spares, for whatever reasons, we didn't have one, so it was almost $100,000 to get for one mixer.
Right.
Had they got that with the plan, when they built the plant, it would have been like $7,100. So the longer you go, I've heard it's finding these things are more expensive, but you pay for it in the long run.
I just didn't know if we had a maintenance schedule for all of the machines inside. You have a list of all of
Probably just.
their ages and when they expire out and when they need to get replaced, so that way you don't have to run and try and
Run out a
find.
facility spreadsheet, take the time, and then make it universally shared between all departments.
Right, I think that's kind of the future, right, is as everybody is getting up to speed on what that looks like in their own enterprise, is then how do we combine that as a larger document to say, anybody asks, what is your repairs and maintenance plan for the entire district, we can say, here's the manual. So that's something that we're working on. It's just, it takes time to put all that stuff together. That's why we try.
That was all I had, cause supplies seem to be an issue. And if it's on a maintenance schedule of, hey, this needs to be replaced and it's being replaced this year, you already have one ordered, even though it's not broken, it probably will be broken, and you have one sitting there because you know that it's going to break. Cause supplies are difficult.
So like example is a screw press here in a couple of years, that'll be a major expense to have that basically rebuilt. It's got a 7-8 year, not life expectancy, but major wear parts are gonna go bad on it. And the way it's installed, it's gonna take a major effort to take it apart, put new parts on, so. Sometimes I know it's coming, but.
I understand we get ahead of it, right? So we figure that out in the budget, so that we don't have to guess. Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the financials?
I'll make a motion to approve November and December's financials.
I'll second.
Motion by Stacy, second by Neil. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 While you're on here.
Uh-huh. Oh, you're all right.
She was pretty quick to give that gavel back to you.
You caught it quick.
All right,
We're on 9.
9, okay. Apologies for being tardy.
We can see how tardy you are because we have a clock.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, I've been staring at it this whole time and never noticed that it wasn't in the other room.
All right. Item 9, consider approval of the 2023 annual administrative resolution.
So that was in the board packet. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is, Blair?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if this is something you've done in the past with previous council, but we do these with all of our districts, usually put in place December for the following year. And it just sets forth, you'll see throughout here, administrative items that need to be done throughout the year, statutory deadlines and whatnot, and then who's responsible for them. So most of them you'll see, excuse me, finance director handles, but there's a few in here that legal will handle as well. So I'm happy to talk about any of them specifically, but that's the gist of what it's for.
A lot of it looked like a legal job description, is what it looked like.
Yeah, there's everything in here from when the audits get submitted to the board and when they get filed, mill levy certification. I know you don't have a mill levy, but usually county still requires a 0 mill certification by the deadline. You know, it covers when your regular meeting schedule is, who the board members are, where notice of meetings are posted. So it's intended to be sort of a one place, one stop for all those administrative items throughout the year. Who your designated election official is.
Didn't see any changes from last year, sure.
No, I think the format is pretty similar to the 2022. I mean, there was a lot of dialogue between Heather, Blair, and myself about who was gonna do what, and just making sure that we were dotting all the i's, crossing all the t's. So really the biggest change is gonna be taking out old general counsel, putting in new general counsel is the, I would say, right, the major change.
All right,
So I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 annual administrative resolution.
I'll second.
okay, motion by Sherry, second by Stacy, any further discussion on it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? No, motion carries. All right, item 10 will be consideration of the approval resolution of the board of directors designating the district's
24-hour posting location.
So this is something that you guys, at least from my records, we haven't done in the past. So Blair, if you want to talk a little bit about what this is regarding.
Yeah, it's just a resolution to designate the website as the place for 24-hour meeting notice postings. And you'll see in here, there's a physical location over the other offices where it's posted. For some reason, the website's down. But when statute changed and you're allowed to do these notices online as opposed to the 3 physical locations in your district, you're required to put forth where you're actually posting it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-01-26-2.
Second.
Perfect. All right, a motion by Stacy and a second by John. Any further discussion on it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Looking at this, I saw seal made me think we're losing our notary.
I'll get it over in my office. It's easy.
Yeah, just reminder.
I just thought about that right now too. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, item 11 is ratification of the engagement letter for White Bear. It's Ankley, right?
Thankfully, yeah.
Tanaka and Waldron as general counsel to the district.
There isn't
Just
anything.
ratifying
Yeah,
the-
you're just ratifying what you
The
already signed.
engagement letter. Okay. For those that don't know, we have moved away from Ed Bendlow Law Firm as our general counsel to White Bear Ankley. That's a lot of names.
It is, you can just say white bear. if
Okay.
it's easier.
As our general counsel, and they are have you already introduced, have they already introduced you?
We were
Yeah.
gonna do it in this section.
In this part?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to Blair, let you kind of explain your guys' specialties and why we've engaged with you guys to take over as general counsel.
Yeah, sure. So just a little background on the firm. We're the largest special district firm in Colorado. I'm a partner there, and as Troy knows, Heather Hartung, who's of counsel on our firm, will be helping out a lot. And then John Wagner, who's an associate, will be doing some of the lower level work as well, trying to keep costs down. We represent districts all over the state, from mountains down here, all the way down to Pueblo and all the way to Fort Collins. So pretty much every jurisdiction around the state, and that's all we do. So that's what we specialize in. And after meeting with Carter and hearing more about the district, it was something we were definitely interested in, and we're very appreciative of the opportunity you've given us to work with you.
Any questions for Blair? Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
And we do need a motion to do the change, correct? We need a
Yeah.
vote on that?
Yeah, you have to ratify it.
So I'll make a motion as a voting member to change our general counsel from Bendlow to White Bear,
Second.
effective immediately. And a second by John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And you guys should be received, or no, did you notify Brownstein that all the documents?
I talked to David.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're getting all the litigation, and then Blair said that he was gonna wait till after this meeting to talk to Ted's office
Okay.
about getting whatever documents they have.
And he's aware you're gonna call, so I talked to him either Friday or Saturday.
Okay.
It's Friday.
Great. Yeah, as I was explaining before you got here, we'll work with him on file transfer and then getting our appearance entered in the court, and he'll withdraw his and
Okay.
get off all the notifications. We'll get that taken care of.
And for those that aren't aware, I did have a discussion with the previous general counsel firm on Friday, And he is, actually, the law firm is up for sale, and he is retiring effective immediately. So. All right, item 12, resolution to reduce the 2023 rates.
So the resolution is in front of you, Troy, but then there's a memo from Rep. Tellis. So Rep. Tellis is the rate study provider for the district. So this memo goes into discussing what analysis Raftelis did specifically for the 2023 wastewater monthly rate. So that goes into talking about the differences in the classes, so specifically Paintbrush Hills versus Woodman Hills proper residents, based off of the recent arbitration ruling. There were some findings from that ruling that had to be reevaluated for the monthly sewer rate. So there was an internal analysis done by myself as the Director of Finance. I then turned that over to Raftelis for them to do a third-party independent review. And so their results are on page 2 of the memo that you have. So you can see what rate they are suggesting for 2023.
And this is just for the sewer rates.
That is correct. So the full rate study analysis work will be ready during the kind of budget processing for 2024, because the rate study itself is a full comprehensive review of all fees charged by the district. So not specifically wastewater, but literally every fee that we have in the district, they're reviewing and evaluating, and then we'll give a full analysis to the board later this year.
What's our deadline to actually have this executed?
This specific one, so tonight, we have to make a decision because I have to start billing for January, the first week of February.
Should we move this to between 19 and 20 after we get out of executive session so we can go through arbitration review?
I would probably say, yes, that way we can have a discussion about the details of the arbitration before we issue the explanation of the arbitration, because I think we're final now on the arbitration and the final order.
Right.
So I would like to get that out as well as the rate
Okay.
stuff. So let's
Move to 20 and other business.
and you guys already approved this agenda?
Yes.
Is that the only thing that would need to be changed on there? Because we're gonna need a motion to change the agenda.
Unless you want to move the Circle K inclusion discussion into executive session as well.
That's still a negotiation, correct?
Yes. But the comments to the board are really just an update of what you guys already know. So it's completely up to you if you want to do a public comment or if you want to move it into executive and then come out and let the public know what was discussed.
Okay, so I'll motion, we move item 12 into other business.
No second?
Hang on. And item 17A into executive session.
Now second.
Okay. I motioned, Neil seconded. Any other discussion on those? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So we'll just need that changed when we post the final, or when we go back over meeting minutes, the agenda, make sure the agenda's corrected to reflect that. All right, so we'll just stick going down here. Item 13, summary review, Marcus. I've been trying like heck to get over there and visit a little bit.
I've been running around, if you like, if you catch me.
And he's been there late.
Right now, the only
No,
time I've
that's-
been over there is on Saturday for the basketball games, so.
Hey, you should be seeing Craig, hopefully.
Yes. Wait a minute, he's supposed to be there?
He's telling me.
He's got a broomstick, so he don't have to be there.
All right, we'll do, Park and Rec report.
Great. I wanted to follow up on a few things from last meeting, just kind of going back with the fire protection system. We have some good news on that. Talking with them, we're actually grandfathered in because we're older than 2012, so that architectural review, we don't have to abide by that. We still have the valve issue that we need to correct, but the red tags will come off because we don't need that $2,200 architectural review, so we're good to go there, so. And then fire extinguishers, we're not gonna recharge, we're just gonna buy new. Actually, I'm doing that tomorrow, and give you news. And going through, looking at code, we only need 5-pounders, we have 10-pounders just about everywhere, so we'll be able to save money on that too. So there's a few things we're able to review, cut down some of those costs and do, so we'll get those done by the end of the week. Update on gym hardwood flooring. We did bring someone out to quote. We're over a year on that floor. Typically about once every year you want to get a new resurface on hardwoods. So we did get a quote on that, and it was a local gentleman too. I actually used him at UCCS, did a great job out there. In fact, I'm going out there to see, because they did a low VOC oil-based out there that really worked out good. So I want to see if it's holding up. It's one of the last projects I did out there to see how that goes, but it's not as dense, but it's more forgiving, so it'll dent versus break on the wood, and it provides a really nice sheen. Water protection, the oil's way better on that. Only drawback is it gives it a little more of a yellow hue, but like if you go to like a basketball court, it has those nice yellow pop, that's kind of what it'll do. But he did confirm that we can run our machine, the way it is right now. The floor is in good shape, and it's standing water that will cause the issues. So potentially if there was standing water that didn't get up in time, and we fight that with the snow right now, we're cleaning constantly because people walking in with the wet shoes going out of the court. We gotta get those things up, and staff has been doing a good job on that. Where the machine, the auto scrubber will actually help us with that. So if we start utilizing that more, because it just puts it down and sucks it right up, so there's no risk of standing water on that. And then if it does happen again, he said throw a floor fan on there, get all the moisture up from the ground up, and that'll help with that, but he wouldn't anticipate that, so. Looking at that, so we're starting buffing, and we're good to go on those gym floors. So we can use our Zambone. And then snow removal, just update on that. Over New Year's, it was coming in, it was a little rough. We had a lot of snow, a lot of blowing, but I think we have a good plan. Will and Chris have been great working with them, getting in different plans. Right now, we have priorities what we're doing when we're forecasting the snow, clearing the parking lots first, clearing the walkways around the facilities, then going out to the walkways in the neighborhoods on Meridian Ranch, and then going to the trails. And took a little while to get how the gator works, but they've got that now. We did get 2 snow blowers, because we are getting some large, like 4-foot drifts out on the golf course. So we are, the Frisbee golf course, so we are using those to get those big, because the gators just weren't doing anything out there. So I think we got a good plan, but now we're in the process of getting I think you mentioned earlier, the standard operating procedures, we're just getting a lot of this into writing, so that the staff knows if we have these certain levels of things, it's just automatic, this is what we can do, this is what we're gonna plan on doing, and it'll just become second nature. It'll take a little bit of time, but that's one of my top priorities, is to get some of these operating procedures down, especially from work disruption and closures and weather and all that, instead of just a, 49, we're closed. We're kind of moving away from that and going to more of trying to get into, and if it's safe and what does that look like, kind of putting that out to have it so when we make the decisions about late starts, closures and things like that, that there's something behind it and it's on paper. So, and then to your, about the deferred maintenance, we're starting that. We did have a company come out, look at our boiler, pool boiler, just to give us where we're at, what we're looking on it, because it's pretty old. So, and then I know it's about a 12-week lead time on some of these products, so we want to at least have that in our back pocket, where if we need to make these repairs, we can get on it pretty quick. Next step, also having the HVAC people come out, walk through that equipment too, to see where we're at on those. And then I did put in my board notes, looking at in that second week in August of doing a closure of RCE for a week, a Saturday to a Saturday. Drain the pool, inspect everything. That's where we'll inspect the pumps, see where we're at, impellers, boilers, inlets. If we have to paint, all that will be done in that week. So hopefully that preventative maintenance will last us through the year. Things will come up, but in my experience, those things have really gone a long way to prevent those. Oh no, we're dead in the water for 12 weeks because we didn't do something. So that's what I was looking at for doing there.
And part of the reason you picked that week is what?
That the pool here will still be open, so we can still utilize the outdoor pool. Schools just getting, it's not the first, but the second week, so people are starting to get in their groove. Swim teams, because pool rental revenue is pretty big, and they take, that's the month they take off, early August, because that long course ends the end of July, their state championships, and then they usually don't start again till the end of August, so that our pool rentals, it won't affect our pool rentals during that time. And we can still do programming if they want. If we want to do aquasize, we can still utilize, in private lessons, we can still utilize our outdoor pool at that time.
That all you got?
I tried to keep it short. I sent you a really big, any questions for me?
When the pool closes, will you be resealing the deck?
We will be cleaning it for sure, with a hot seat, go over that. TSP and hot seat with that style of deck. Believe it or not, I have a history with that style of deck. We used it at Goodson for almost the entirety that I was there, that style. And at UCCS, we actually had that very same style of deck. And the best way was go with some kind of thing that breaks up the minerals, and then go with the hot seat, blow it into the pool, and then we'll clean the pool, flush it all out. It'll look better. It'll probably actually, my experience, it's a little more rough on your feet for a few weeks after you do that, because it builds up that mineral deposits on the top right now. But yeah, we'll be cleaning that too.
You can buy flip-flops to go to the pool.
I've seen on the basketball court, it's about the matting and
Yes.
reinforcing the walls. So I've seen the new matting on there. Are we gonna end up doing the whole walls eventually?
Well, I think the way I'm proposing is go to the 3-point line on each side, so it's about another 12, I think it's 12 feet if I measure it right on each side. And then putting plywood behind those, plywood paneling behind those, and we'll do that in-house. That'll be more than adequate, because people aren't gonna charge hard on the outside beyond that 3-point line, so they won't lower the wall very hard. So I don't think we'll have to do the whole wall. I would anticipate that.
Okay. And then if we looked at getting any like runners for like, where people walk
Yes.
on the end there, cause I can see the floor starting to get scraped up pretty good from people walking in there with the rocks.
Yeah, currently we're using Snow White, renting it, but we're actually looking at ending that and purchasing some more heavy duty stuff. And then actually talk with Wally, maybe using, because we're using for cleaning our rags too, and we'll actually take our rigs over there and wash, so they can that rental and actually have our home equipment out there.
Yeah, I just say, I seen that girl in there Saturday, she was down there with spray and a freaking towel, I was like, you don't
Yeah,
have a
I
better
saw it.
option than that?
I've had good luck with a broomstick and a tennis ball.
Yeah.
But Craig said that's the way that it works for them.
Alright.
And it looks good, I mean, the marks are off, so I gotta defer to him, because some people learn their floors really well, and if that's what he's thinking, but yeah, I've always used a broomstick and tennis ball and rub those black marks right out.
I'd see her clean a spot, and then she'd go to the next spot, and somebody'd walk through there, and then she'd have to go right back over there too, and I was like,
I know.
we don't have,
I know.
it just seemed a little silly for a minute. Alright, cool. And about
Thank you.
park lighting, real quick,
Yeah,
poles are going in,
poles will be delivered in February, just talking with Ross Electric. They're not there yet, but he anticipates, and thinks they're gonna be there the first week of February. And then he said he needs, him and Saul for the pavilion, need about 5 days, about 50-degree weather to get the work that they need done.
It's not this weekend.
No.
So they hear it also.
thank you.
Right.
Alright, item 14, the water report.
So we have an update on the well next door to here. It's the repairs and replacement, so the repairs, for the replacement would be 780 feet of pipe, because the pipe is so corroded, it has 10 holes, and one section has a hole about 1 inch round. 2,400 feet of wiring. The cladding that was on the wiring has been completely compromised. So they're talking about maintenance on the wells, doing maintenance or periodic maintenance when your well fails. You swap your pipe around, you swap your wiring around. Just utilize the most that you can of that asset before you come to the replacement part. So this is on schedule with the Applied Ingenuity. As soon as the pump and motor, of course, there's the lead times. As soon as they get that, they'll reinstall that and put that back into service. Now, the next item is this funny, but it's not really. So the 15th of December, we had a brand new fire hydrant. Wasn't even used for anything. It got hit by a car, a multi-car crash, took it out. We thought we had to replace that whole thing because of a part on there. We thought that it could be repaired, but the manufacturer representative came out and looked at the flange that was on there that was compromised. He said that if we can get that off there, he would offer another flange, and we put that back into service. So that was done on the 12th of this month. LFH6 had failed. It's now a warranty issue. The motor had burned up. Wasn't even in there for a year. Things happen. Sometimes you get a motor that tested and passed inspection and all that. You got the report on that, and then find out it fails in the process. So that will be on the dime for the manufacturer at that point. Ongoing issues with transfer for LFH3 is because whenever we have colder months, there's a power surge that will happen. And so I figured out that instead of having just a regular fuse of the same amperage and wattage, I use a delay fuse to compensate for those times when there's not enough power. They call it brown power. So that the fuses don't keep blowing. They're about $100 every time a fuse blows. So the delay fuse ones are just another $20 more, but then I don't have to replace them as much when those situations do happen when the well is in operation. The 12th of this month, we have the new backwash tank that's right. It's sitting out there in the yard at the transfer pump station, and they will be doing more activity with construction, so we're going to be seeing that taking place beginning of February. They're gonna be moving in more of the heavy equipment, and that is gonna be one of the first items that's gonna be going in the ground. And followed thereafter, the extending of the waste wastewater line or the sewer line extension, replacing a manhole and putting two back in place with a possible extension for future development. And so those will be the things that will be taking place at that time. Our meter program, as of, I think that was Wednesday, the 18th, the staff had put in 3,017 meters, leaving 16 meters to be installed. Well, that number now, we're down to 5 meters as of today that's left outstanding because they're either homes were in foreclosure or they're vacant, and we don't have a good number to call whoever is on that account. However, the water service has been discontinued, so the only way that they will have it on is when like we call and say, hey, okay, you want service on, we have to change the meter out, and then you have your services reinstated. Bent grass and Falcon Marketplace is still in development stages. You see that much activity there is taking shape. You see King Supers is really doing, really showing their steel structure and all that. Our regular back tea and samples came out good. There were no water calls currently, and there is no fire hydrants or out of service at this time. I wouldn't do that.
Can we,
You said it.
can we get a layout of what they're doing over at Falcon Marketplace, what they're planning on putting in?
What was that again? I'm
A
sorry.
layout of what they're putting in?
Everything that you see
Yeah.
in Marketplace is what has been
So what is
approved
it?
from the county.
There's only one plot left that hasn't been developed, and
I think they're
Right, there's no
working on
plans.
Panda Express, the car wash, Slim Chicken, and Dutch Brothers.
Chipotle,
Freddy's is going
Freddy's
in.
going in there.
Chipotle.
Chipotle. And then I just heard today that behind the 7-Eleven, that's gonna be a Chili's.
That's news to me.
Dunkin' Donuts is going over there.
Yeah.
We know a Dunkin' Donuts going behind it, but not a Chili's.
Huh.
I got a call today saying that they submitted to put a Chili's in there.
So I'm just curious if there's something that we can put on the website.
Those are the guys that have to approve it, so.
We'll make sure jelly
You
chilies.
know,
Yeah, sure.
just a ghost map.
Put a Texas Roadhouse in over
There
there.
you go.
You like a paycheck?
You guys will be working at Chili's.
Circuit board meetings over there?
I'd like to back up just a little bit to the water. The team that JD and Carter put together to make all of those water meter change outs a success. It was a phenomenal job by everybody who was involved in that. It was a lot of man hours, it was a lot of hard work, it was a lot of, on both sides. I mean, from the people in the office, you know, making the phone calls, making the appointments, doing all that, to the guys out in the field actually changing out the meters. It was a phenomenal job and definitely appreciated, so make sure all your people know how much we appreciated their hard work.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much, John. I will, not to pat myself on the back, but.
Oh, I wasn't patting
Let's
you
hear
on
it,
the
JD.
back.
Let's hear it.
And really, we know you were more in charge of it than Wally, so.
Did I say Wally?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Wally.
So,
Pat myself.
You're excluded.
there's other water districts right now that they're doing similar programs. They asked me, well, how did you were able to do your program in such a short time? And what was some of the things that you did? And I said, we did all of ours in-house. We didn't contract them out. And we had a real aggressive schedule. We stuck with it. And so those are the key things that, you know, made that success. Unfortunately, there was some, you know, issues with getting meter components themselves, but that happens. in this, I guess you could call it a new normal. But we was able to plan around that and still come, I didn't make the November deadline, as I was hoping to see happen, but, in all, it took about 5-6 months. Normally, something like that takes over a year.
Well, in all honesty, when you guys came out with say we're going to have a November deadline, I don't think anybody believed it would be anywhere close to that. We didn't think you'd get we didn't think you'd get the community to come around to doing that.
So I got 5 left. They're all vacant homes or foreclosed homes.
Did you have to wrap that one in tinfoil for them?
There was a few.
As long as I get a read.
Carter, did we take care of the vacancy email? The email we were
Yes.
working on the other day?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I know the whole board got that email.
Is that the same one I could?
Yes.
We all forwarded
Yeah.
to you from that guy.
I
Yeah.
actually emailed that guy.
Did you get a reply?
I sure did.
What did you
Because
say?
the thing is, and I explained to Troy in his email, but we have been working with this particular Paintbrush Hills resident for a while now, but he never once told us that he was a renter and that he's no longer in the home. He just kept saying, I PCS'd. Well, we have lots of military that PCS but still own the home. And our records indicated that he was the owner of the property. We didn't have any secondary owners or actual primary owners available until you were able to get that information from him. So I appreciate your help, but had he just communicated that ahead of time, it would have not gotten to the board's attention. So I apologize if you guys had this stuff in.
It was like 3 sentences of, hey, I need some clarification. So, and then he wrote back, because like when they're military, it doesn't always show property information. And so when I found out he was a renter, I got a hold of the LLC that he was renting from and gave Carter the phone number so he could call him and get the utilities transferred.
You did better than me. I just replied to him and said, what's up with this?
I didn't even go that far. I just forwarded it to
Yeah.
Carter and
That's
didn't
what
say
I
a
did.
word.
Well, you're welcome, I guess.
Thank
I
you.
guess I really participated
You
well on
helped.
that one.
You helped. I appreciate it.
So, any further comments or discussion for water report?
Nope, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Jamie.
Just
All right,
pictures.
Ollie, water report.
Wastewater.
Want to go again?
The other water.
Discharge side?
Wastewater report, go ahead.
Alright, so December DMR is complete, we passed our first quarter wet test. So we were waiting on electrical plant approval from RBD for the Headworks project, just found out from electricians that it has been approved. So now we go ahead and finally schedule and install for the new Headworks power screen. So
Wow, was that a 2022 or a 2021 project?
that started in
It's
21.
Started in 21.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I pray to God by summer, I have news for you. We had a 125 horse motor for over 3-year ride. Still working CUE compression, they're backed up right now. They're looking at trying to come out next week to work on it, but we are on the schedule, so hopefully we can get a third blower back up and running. That's been another one that's been a year in the making. Guess I have a picture, our new 4-inch diesel trailer pump arrived, so we're gonna put the other one up for sale. I don't think it'll be too hard to sell, contractors and stuff, you can get them for dewatering, so. But new and pretty nice, it's got the modern emissions on it, but it's nice when you actually start it, rev it up, it starts pumping right away, so.
We probably put that one right over at Falcon Marketplace and just put it for sale sign on it.
Might work.
Or get stolen, what's the insurance on that?
Not a bad idea.
Probably a better chance of the second.
Yeah, I went for, so we had, a couple months ago, we had a mixer fail. There was no backup for it, so we put a larger mixer in place. Ordered one, had ordered 2 at the time. Second one finally came in, so we actually do have the original plus a spare now, so something ever happens, at least we're set on that. Survey company, just heard actually from them today, they'll start, depending on the weather, they'll start surveying that new 5-acre property on, February 15th. Should take them about 3-4 days. Part of money, we do get a really nice plot, everything will go to us, the engineers, so once it gets to a point where we have to expand the wastewater plant, all the markings, everything's right there, so as long as we have money left for do it now, save the money on the back end, so. That should be done within next month. They're working on the D49 reimbursement agreement, golf course water AGA, Grandview, we'll get that later. DHI is still looking at that property in Eastonville for a rental development. I guess I had talked about before, both VFDs had to be replaced at the lift station. Yeah, I guess we already discussed that, so. Actually working with JDS Hydro right now for our CapEx project for taking out the old, going back, beating a dead horse, but someone went cheap on our solids holding basins, tried to use 20 old equipment, and it's just not working. It's, one of them's been out of service now for 3 months. So we're gonna swap that out. We're gonna tap into the main air line going to the aeration basins and actually put a diffused grid system in there like it should have been. It's gonna make life way easier for us. We're gonna throw out maintenance on this thing. It's gonna help our dewatering. It's gonna cut our polymer costs down. And when we do eventually have to do another upgrade on the plant, infrastructure's already there, so it saves us a little headache on that end. So it's all going to be a pretty good deal. And the last item put on here, I mentioned before, we had a pump and impeller fail. Actually bolt just snapped off, impeller dropped down and it actually chewed up a blue. We had to replace that. And last weekend it happened again. This time the propeller just fell down and didn't chew anything up. First time we just thought it was something we did wrong on it, but now it happened the second time. I called Smith & Loveless, and they're positive we have a bad check valve. It's not working, we can't test it until we get the pump back and put in. So the issue is on the check valve, so it's discharging all the way from the main lift station by McDonald's all the way to the wastewater plant. So it's got, once that pump shuts off, there's a good 160, 170 PSI coming back on it. The wet well only had about 4 or 5 PSI on it, so if there's any leakage on there, the flow comes back and the pump's actually running backwards. Now it calls being called on and finally twist itself to the direction it needs to spin. So we're gonna rebuild the check valve as long as we got time while the pump's getting replaced. So. Because I can't keep going down this road, because that'll do my numbers. Any questions?
Nice colored picture.
And
I like
you do
that.
have a colored picture. Want to
Just
make
to
it?
verify, the poor guy in the background is not really the firefighter, he's actually got a hose in his hand. I didn't notice until I got the board packet.
I didn't even notice that.
"God,
Like,
I'm
what
gonna
is
say
that?"
that."
I didn't notice
I was
at
like,
all.
I looked at it and I was like, yeah, okay. I'll leave that one alone.
I didn't realize he was staying back
I'll
there.
leave that one alone.
He's working.
Good job on that colored picture, Wally.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I actually made the same comment when I picked up my paper on Tuesday.
Never gonna live it down.
I know, it's fun.
All right.
Trying to save costs.
Hey, Troy, you weren't here for this discussion. Do you have a hard time getting hold of Carter on his cell phone?
No.
See?
Ah.
He's also
So,
the board
you are.
president.
I'm sure you answer all of his calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need mine to say Troy Stinson.
Or Stacy Popovich.
Yeah.
Apparently. I only listen to the two of you, apparently.
And sometimes even when I know it's super late and he's not gonna answer, I just leave a message and say, hey, it's not important. Call me back when you get a chance.
Or I just say, hey, I know it's after 4:30, but here's my phone call anyways, and he normally picks up. I'm like, it's gonna be really short because you're not getting paid anymore.
No, he is getting.
I just assume he's salary, so
He's
I'm
on
not
salary.
too worried
Yeah,
about it.
he always
Keep
says,
telling her that.
he says I'm salary, it doesn't matter, because I wasn't getting out of work. before he left for the day.
We try to be mindful of your time, sir, because we know how that goes in our lives.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
My one recommendation
Yes,
is, can I please start getting the packet on Friday?
before,
Mm-hmm.
I would do my best, but again, there are things that are in flux that I can try to get the majority, like I did this last time, out to you guys ahead of time, but if there are last minute things that happen, then they'll have to come in when they come in.
I'm fine with it in pieces, but the sooner,
I know.
especially now,
I know.
as busy as everybody
I
is,
know.
the sooner we can get even pieces of it to be able to start reviewing everything.
Yep.
Because I get very small windows to review it.
Yep.
I've reviewed minutes today on lunch,
Good job.
so.
Another thing we probably need now is a new updated point of contact list, phone list.
What do you mean? Like
Well,
POCs?
everybody has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, Marcus, do you actually use the company phone?
I do for texts. The calls, I like having the number for citizens to call that number, but I do have it forwarded to my, cause I wear it, so I get on my watch and stuff, so I can get alerted. So I have the calls forwarded, but texts, I do use that. So.
We didn't know he had Jed's phone.
Oh,
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. It's essentially my number, but 3001 instead of 3000.
That really helps us a lot.
No,
If you
he
called it
messaged
as
and said, do you
often,
have Marcus's number? And I said, oh, I don't know what phone they.
Well, Jed never used it, so
Yeah. In the office.
I will get you a
I
phone
called
list.
it twice.
I mean,
What's
if you
that
called
mean?
Carter more often, you'd know his number by heart.
So,
He
Oh, you
just
did?
comes in the office.
not you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey Siri, call Carter. Oh, it's actually calling him.
It's
All right,
mine.
let's move
See?
on here.
Don't worry, he's
I don't know
closer.
that, I don't know that his number.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Item 16, items unfinished from previous meetings. Do we have any of those? I don't have my notebook here.
Does anybody know what that gentleman was waiting for? Or-
He didn't say anything to any of us when he walked
Normally, he
in.
speaks about the gym downstairs.
That guy?
No, not
No.
really.
He was the one.
Tony is usually the one that comes in and talk about the gym.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe with snow removal. So you left after I talked about that, cause I know that was a hot button topic thing for a while.
Maybe
I
it
wanted
was.
to know at least we were aware of it and maybe I would plan on dealing with it.
Okay.
He didn't say anything to me, but I know that's been a hot button.
The only items unfinished from previous meeting that I was aware of, Marcus already talked about in his report, about those, the fire suppression system and then the Gen 4. Those are the only things that I recall from the last meeting.
We had a resident come for the gym downstairs, and there's spacing in between where the wall was.
There was, one of the comments I heard, granted I was somewhat new, so.
Yeah, real new.
Yeah, I know he said something about fans, so we did add 2 more wall fans downstairs and are repairing another one, so we did add some more fans downstairs. And then the flooring is the flooring. We did get, should be arriving actually this weekend, we got a new steamer for these Mondo type flooring, so that we can use those steamers to clean next. The snow is tracking in, the salt, not the snow, the salt is actually downstairs, so maybe that's one of the things he was talking about too, so we were trying to clean that up too, but the fans are installed downstairs. That was one of the things he did say.
And are the drinking fountains at the right level and the right temperature?
The one on the right is more powerful than the one on the left, but the one on the left, I believe, is adequate. Well, it'd be
I have
harder
no
to
idea
fill up a
either.
water bottle with the one on the left than the one on the right.
And I think once you get settled in, I think the next discussion is kind of what do you see the future of the Park and Rec here with
Yeah.
everything else as far as any type of future expansion of offerings for the community, things of that nature, but we'll let you settle in a little bit first.
I want to maintain what we have right now.
I'm going to his office on Monday at 5.
He'll probably be there,
He will. We talked about it already. Yeah.
cause I normally am at the pool Monday at 5,
That's
and he's normally there.
All right, item 17, board follow-up on order items.
Nothing additional?
All right, then we'll move on to, since we moved 17A, item 18 will be public comment regarding current board business not on the agenda.
Public?
Is there a reason that our public comment is so far down in the agenda?
I've kind of always left it there because, in case people have comments on something that we talk about in the first portion of the meeting. And nobody liked us having it at the very end. We used to have it at the very end. That way, if we came out of executive and we took action on something and they had a comment about it or a question about it, we could give a better explanation to them. But people got tired. Back then, we had so much stuff going on, we were having 4 or 5 hour executive sessions, and so I can't expect people to wait out in the hallway for 4 or 5 hours. So we moved it just in front, so that they get most of the meeting in, can talk or ask a question about something we've discussed, and then move into executive session, and then it's really up to them if they wanna hang out until after. I mean, at one point, we even talked about putting a second comment session at the very end, just in case somebody wanted to stick around. But we don't ever have the amount of people, I mean, used to, whenever we have an election, that's when we have the most people show up. And it's generally either the last meeting or the first meeting with the new board. Other than that, it's, and sometimes with budget hearing, we have a large amount of people. But for the most part, seeing people around the community, man, people are just, I mean, they're just living their lives right now, trying to survive with the increased prices. I mean, the gym's getting used, your guys' programs are freaking crazy busy, to where they have to add extra ball teams and stuff with the amount of people that are wanting to be involved in sports and different stuff that we do here. I mean, I've never been over there. I mean, even the night, you know, I know we were irritated with people in the gym after hours and stuff, but that was remedied. But the fact that people still wanted to be at the gym at 8:30 at night, it says people still want to be active and doing things. So I just think that, for the most part, I hope people are happy with what they're getting right now.
Okay.
We don't get a mass number of emails or phone calls complaining, and, you know, I mean, my attention to getting phone calls and emails and stuff has been, I've been dealing with the Liberty Tree stuff for the last month and a half, so, that's, I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I got it.
There you are.
Yeah, roped in.
I ended up writing a paper and supporting docs, and the board used it last night. It worked out. We got their charter renewal, so it worked out. And Tim's the new president of the LTA board.
He'll do a great job.
So,
I was just curious why it was so far down.
that's it. I mean, we can always change it.
Okay.
We can change the agenda however we want, but, I mean, if people do show up, do you want them waiting until after executive session, or do you want it going?
I was gonna make the recommendation of moving it up, so that way they're like one of the first. If they do have a concern, they can come, they can let us know, and then they don't have to stay.
And I would do that, but if we were gonna do that, I would add a second one, like some of the boards do, just so in case we talk about something through the meeting that they wanna stick around and talk about. But then you run into, you know, are you gonna let people talk over and over and over again?
Well, thinking how many times we've had people come in that we've gone ahead and let them speak.
Yeah,
at the
generally,
very
we just
beginning of the
motion
meeting.
generally, just like when the folks come and they're sitting here for a while, and we know it's gonna be long executive session, we just motion to move public comments if they're the only one here, so that they can go ahead and talk.
Okay.
I mean, we can always do that.
So it says, business not on the agenda. Do you limit it to stuff you're not discussing here?
We
I
did
think-
that for a reason.
And I think the notion is that public comment on any items that are on the agenda should be given at the same time those items are being discussed. And then this is a section for comment on other items that aren't on the agenda.
Got it.
So we gotta get people to open up and talk about, and us as a board too, just in case there's something that comes up.
We probably operate a little bit differently than other boards that you deal with. We're very open. We let people talk if they wanna talk, we let them join in the conversation, because we wanna hear from our community. A few years ago, we used to have a guy with a red stop clock, and as soon as you started talking, he hit the button, and as soon as it hit 3 minutes, he hit the button and shut you up. I don't think any of us are that way on this board. You know,
I mean, if we were dealing with 20,000 people or 30,000 people, and we knew we were gonna have a room full every night, we had a limit. I mean, I know some D49 board limits, public comments 30 minutes, that's it. And you get 2 minutes to talk. And they have their little paddles they hold. 1 minute, 30 seconds, done. But we've always tried to make this more of a discussion type forum instead of a strict, you know, we follow Robert's rules like everybody else, but we try to keep it open to where everybody comes in and has a grievance, we can talk about it.
Yeah. My question is mostly just if it's not covering something on the agenda, is there a benefit to waiting until you get through the agenda? You know, if they're gonna talk about, if they're chiming in during these things on
If
agenda
it's not on the
items.
agenda, I see what you're saying, you can actually.
Yeah, if we're talking about a non-agenda item, why not
Yeah.
do it up front? They can
Why not
talk
do it
about
then,
it and then leave.
do it at 4, you know?
We can try it in February.
Yep.
We'll move it up.
if somebody shows up,
We shift
We'll
that
just
up.
move it up, and then that way, if someone does show up, they have the opportunity early on.
I mean, maybe they're not coming because they're like, "Shh, that's like 15 items down."
Right.
Let's just, let's move it up to number 4 then.
Yep.
Get rid of, I mean, we won't have director disclosures on there next month, so let's, or are we? We're not doing those every meeting, are we?
Director's.
If there is a conflict,
Okay,
so it stays on the agenda, but you only talk about it if there's a conflict.
all right.
Just stick to no conflict.
So then let's move it to
Fine.
item 5. That way or right after approval or disapproval of the agenda. That way, and we'll give it a shot. Good job. Thank you.
Good
You
idea.
bet.
You just wrecked the whole meeting forever.
That's it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay. Okay, with no public comment, I will move that we enter executive session for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations under CRS 24-64024E, of which will be the Paintbrush Hills arbitration review, your sewer connection. Who's the sewer connection issue with?
So, it's not an issue anymore.
Okay. Potential agreements and contracts for Grandview Reserve, the golf course water, and that's a contract with IGA.
IGA, but we're not ready to talk about that either.
Okay.
See myself going
D49,
Not ready?
not ready?
No.
So we're striking golf course water and D49 as well?
so far we striking executive?
And,
No, it just means it will be 4 hours.
and we move Circle K, Falcon,
Yes.
There
to
was,
executive session. Okay.
Oh, do we need to add it, the discussion about inclusions?
It's already on there.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
Future inclusion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by me, second by Stacy.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public session. Item 20, other business. We're gonna talk about paintbrush, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for public consumption, there's been arbitration, mediation and then arbitration going on between Woodland Hills and Paintbrush Hills, due to an IGA that was forged back in 2011, and updated again in 2016, I believe. Nonetheless, we went to arbitration over the fact that Paintbrush believed that their bills should be lower, and we did not. The arbiter ruled that the capital development costs that were included in Paintbrush's monthly bill from 2014 to November of 2022 was going to be awarded as damages and could not be collected by Woodman Hills. So with that being said, the previous residents and current residents, they can show that they were damaged through documentation process that's been established between Woodman Hills and Paintbrush. We'll get a refund. We're doing refund checks, right? Or they're doing.
Paintbrush Hills is, yeah.
So we're putting money into their escrow account, and then they will issue refund checks for those damages. So the damage award is to the Paintbrush residents, not to Paintbrush Hills. And we are paying their attorney's fees to the tune of, I think, $70,000 and some change. Just so the public knows, the arbitration was necessary because the IGA was written, I think, in crayon back in 2011, and we needed clarification on the boundaries of the IGA. So with that being said, we will pay the damages and move on. Anything else to add? Anything else that we needed in other business?
You need to vote on that resolution to reduce the Paintbrush Hills rate.
Okay. All right. Resolution number 2023-01-26-3. This is a resolution regarding the district charges and fees. And is this the one for November, or for December? Or for this all next year?
This is for starting effective January 1st, 2023.
Where's the one for December?
You don't need one for that.
Well, we should, because this ruling was
We do
through
need one for
November.
that.
This is for 2023 and on, or January and through the end of the year.
But did we not reduce the rate in December?
According to the arbiter's ruling.
But the arbiter's ruling was only through November.
Right.
So we need a resolution reducing the rate for December and December only. Because only the board can change and set the rate.
Right. What is your thought on that, Blair?
Did they already pay the rates for December?
They paid the reduced rate for December, but there is no documentation on record of a rate change by the board.
Okay. We can, I think you can state it and approve it today, and then we'll draft the resolution so you can sign it, but it's got it documented. That works.
Okay, so we'll do this one first, and then we'll
Do the December one?
do the December one.
Okay. So the exhibit on there is the rates and fees that was previously approved by the board for 2023. The only change is for Paintbrush Hills residents.
And their new rate for this year will be $42.26 per month, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that is based on the most current as of, this is dated January 26, 2023, Raftellus rate study without the any capital development fees in there.
Right.
Just so they know, we are not making this up. Okay. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution as written.
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution as written.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by John, a second by Sherry. Any other discussion on it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Okay, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution, and we'll add, what will it be, 4? Is that the last one on
Is that what you wanna do
that range?
for today?
What's that?
For the resolution for the December rate, just do it as resolution number 4 for today.
That's fine.
Okay, so that one will be, let me see, resolution 2023-01-26-4, and that will be amending the rate for Paintbrush Hills for December of 2022, which is outside of the arbitration order period, to, it was what,
2988.
2988. So, I'll entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion to
approve.
approve.
A second. Okay. A motion by Sherry, a second by Neil. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Any other, business?
We should talk about the
Oh,
elections.
elections. So, we have elections coming up in May. And we have 2 board seats open. And the potential that they are going to run again is decreasing based on their remarks. So I wanna make sure that we get out to the public that we will have 2 board seats up for election, and for folks to consider, applying and sitting up here and doing this. We can't all sit here forever, and somebody else needs to sit up here and carry the torch for a while. So, we would be excited to have people nominate. Those nomination forms, has he even put anything together yet for that?
Yeah, we have the self-nomination forms. They're available.
Due February 24th.
So, self-nomination forms at the district office, are they on the website to print out? Print them out, off the website, and, come and have some fun. Maybe they'll run again.
Never know.
Anything else under other business? Okay, that being said, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I motion we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by John, second by Stacy. Any other discussion? I didn't think so. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good night.